As they say down in Texas, we're on the road again. Think of this journey as a bookend trip to our pre-COVID expedition to Antarctica. This time we head north to explore the west coast of Norway, from Bergen in the southwest to Tromsø in the far north. Our ultimate destination is Svalbard, a remote archipelago located halfway between mainland Norway and the North Pole, deep into the land of the midnight sun. Just to provide some perspective, Bergen, the jumping-off point of our adventure in southwestern Norway, lies at approximately the same latitude as Anchorage, Alaska. Tromsø is located almost 1,000 miles to the north, and once we reach Svalbard, we will be more than 600 miles north of the northernmost point of North America and within 600 miles of the North Pole. Our first stop is Bergen, the second largest city in the country, located deep in the fjord region of southwestern Norway. Known as the City of Seven Mountains, Bergen has a long history, starting with its founding in 1070 and its role as a major trading partner of the Hanseatic League, importing cod, furs, timber, and other goods from northern Norway, starting in the 13th century and continuing for almost 400 years. Bergen, the city's historic harbor district, is one of the most picturesque spots in urban Norway. At its height, Bergen functioned as a self-contained colony for the Hanseatic League. It was literally a German colony within a Norwegian city. Today, commercial shipping, oil and gas, and aquaculture are major industries, while tourism is growing increasingly important. Over 300 cruise ships annually visit the city, which is known as the capital of Norway's fjord region. Bergen's climate is oceanic, with cold, rainy winters and cool summers. Our last day in Bergen was cold and wet. There's an oft-told story of a young boy in Bergen sitting on the curb crying. A grown-up asks him, "What's wrong?" And he says, "It's raining and cold." The grown-up says, "But the rain always stops, doesn't it?" The child replies, "I don't know. I'm only 12. 115 miles north of Bergen lies Luen, a small village located at the eastern end of Nordfjord, the sixth longest fjord in Norway, spanning a distance of 66 miles. It's over 1,900 feet deep. Just 2 kilometers southeast of Luen lies Lake Luvatna, which extends about 15 kilometers up the Lodal Valley to the side of the Jøndalen Glacier. Luvatna's beauty has twice been marred by tragedy. In 1905 and again in 1936, huge rock slides created tsunamis that killed a total of 135 people. The last slide created waves reaching over 240 feet high. Our last stop in Luen was the Skylift, which transports travelers to the top of Mount Havn at a height of over 1,000 meters above the fjord. Unfortunately, the cloud layer that day was at about 800 meters. Over 300 miles northwest of Luen and just south of the Arctic Circle lies the island of Vega, a UNESCO World Heritage Site famous for eiderdown production. It's part of an archipelago consisting of about 6,400 small islands. Some are connected to the mainland by old stone bridges that are submerged during high tide. A significant portion of the Vega World Heritage Center Museum was dedicated to eiderdown farming. Eiderdown has unique properties that give it a very powerful insulating effect, despite being one of the lightest materials known to man. It is collected from the nests of the eider duck. Each nest yields about 16 to 17 grams of cleaned, dried down. A pillow requires about 500 grams of down and can cost from $3,000 to $4,000. Eiderdown is so soft and light that with your eyes closed, it was impossible to tell when the down was placed in your hands. Rinn is a fishing village in the Lofoten archipelago above the Arctic Circle with a population of 314. This is arguably one of the most beautiful villages in Norway, famously surrounded by steep mountains. Evidence of the primary local industry assaults your senses as you walk into town. Cod drying racks are everywhere. By the way, do you know what they call a Norwegian who can't catch fish? A codless heathen. Many of the landscapes in Frozen, the Disney hit movie, were actually inspired by the small fishing villages found here in the Lofoten Islands. Trollfjord is only 1.2 miles long, with a very narrow 330-foot wide entrance. It's surrounded by mountains reaching almost 3,600 feet into the air. In 1890, the fjord was the scene of what is now known as the Battle of Trollfjord. The conflict stemmed from local fishing rights between the first industrial steamboats and local rowing fishermen. The locals formed a blockade at the mouth of the fjord to claim and defend the fish that entered Trollfjord. The scene was famously depicted in a painting by Norwegian artist Gunnar Berg. It's one of the world's most recognizable Norwegian works of art. Elmabotn is a tiny settlement at the end of a small fjord, only about 3.7 miles from the Swedish border. It's only reachable by boat. The few houses are summer homes and occasional residences for a small Sami population. After a short zodiac ride to shore, we hiked into the hills above the village along a mountain stream to get a better view of the spectacular waterfalls we could see from the ship. Tromsø is the world's third largest city north of the Arctic Circle. Most of the city, including the city center, is located on the island of Tromsøya, with other parts located on the mainland to the east and a larger island to the west. Norwegians call this city the Paris of the North, and it's one of the best places in Norway to catch a glimpse of the aurora borealis. From the harbor, one can see the triangular facade of Tromsø's most famous landmark, the Arctic Cathedral. the Resolution docked with a view of downtown Tromsø, right across the street from Tromsø's Troll Museum. Although today Norway is a very tolerant society, they showed an early tendency towards xenophobia. The oldest Norwegian Christian laws from the 11th and 12th centuries contained a clear prohibition against having contact with and seeking knowledge from trolls. That doesn't seem to be an issue today. Now it was finally time to head north, across the Norwegian Sea towards Svalbard. Our first landfall was at Bear Island. Bear Island is the southernmost island of the Svalbard archipelago. The island is located at the limits of the Norwegian and Barents Seas, approximately halfway between Spitsbergen, Svalbard's largest island, and the North Cape of Norway. Bear Island was discovered by Dutch explorers in 1596. It was named after a polar bear that was seen swimming nearby. Vast numbers of seabirds gather here each year to breed, and the cliffs buzz with the activities of thousands of gulls, auks, and fulmars. Brett Gorner was our expedition diver. Using some unique camouflage techniques, Brett was able to show us how seabirds maneuver underwater when they dive for food. Now for the main event. The Svalbard archipelago consists of 5 major islands. Moving counterclockwise are Edgeøya, Barentsøya, Nordøstlandet, Prince Karis Forland, and the largest island, Spitsbergen. We spent the morning admiring a large resting huddle of dozens of walruses. Walruses are huge. They can be up to 12 feet in length and weigh 1.5 tons. Their long tusks are used to pull their huge bodies from the water onto the ice. In the afternoon, with flat, calm seas, we pushed through huge areas of very close drift ice, covering approximately 9/10 of the sea's surface. The ship maintained a respectable speed, and barely a shudder was felt as she steamed north into areas where no other ship had ventured this year. Our first polar bear sighting came late that afternoon. A young male was spotted roaming the ice near our ship. Polar bears are classified as marine mammals because they spend most of their lives on the sea ice of the Arctic Ocean and depend on the ocean for their food and habitat. Male bears can weigh up to 1,800 pounds and are twice the size of the females. Polar bears can grow up to 3 meters long, making them the largest bear species and the largest land carnivore on the planet. Polar bears have a very strong sense of smell, which they use to find seal breathing holes in the ice. They can smell their prey up to 1 kilometer away. They can even detect a seal in the water beneath a meter of compacted snow. These bears eat between 50 to 75 seals a year, but can go for up to 8 months without eating. Our next bear sighting came at 1:37 a.m. that night. Later, we continued making our way through the ice. The next morning found us cruising alongside the Ostfana ice cap, located in northeastern Svalbard. It's the third largest glacier in Europe, measuring over 3,000 square miles. Our closest encounter with Svalbard reindeer came in a sheltered bay off of Belsund on the southern part of Spitsbergen. These reindeer are the smallest subspecies of reindeer. The males develop antlers from April through July, shedding the velvet covering in late summer. Then they lose the antlers at the beginning of the winter. On the other hand, female reindeer grow antlers beginning in June and keep them for the entire year. That evening, we encountered a pod of beluga whales. These animals are known for their white color and range of vocal sounds, earning them the title Canary of the Seas. Belugas are extremely sociable mammals that live, hunt, and migrate together in pods, ranging from a few individuals to hundreds of whales. Our northernmost excursion into the Arctic came in Crossfjord, where we reached a latitude of 79 degrees, 21 minutes north. Our time in this area was notable as we cruised alongside the Lillehookring Glacier, one of the largest on Svalbard, spotted a blue whale, and took a zodiac ride where we saw numerous puffins as well as reindeer and an Arctic fox on the adjacent mountainside. Through the course of our journey, we had numerous encounters with Svalbard's big three, the polar bear, the reindeer, and the walrus. In addition to that, we saw thousands of seabirds and many other animals living on the land, the ice, and the sea. But that was not all. Our expedition diver, Brett Garner, showed us that wildlife in the Arctic is not limited to what you see on the surface. Our last day in the Arctic was spent in Longyearbyen, the world's northernmost settlement with a population of greater than 1,000. About 2,500 people live in Longyearbyen, of which 700 are students at the university. Because of the town's remoteness, there are laws that are found in few, if any, other places in the world. Notable examples of such laws include a ban on cats. Birth and death on Svalbard are discouraged. Medical facilities are inadequate to handle complications during a birth, and the permafrost makes burial difficult, and long-buried bodies do not decompose. Finally, one must carry a rifle when traveling outside any settlement for protection against polar bears. The seed vault safeguards duplicates of over 1 million seed samples from almost every country in the world, with room for millions more. Its purpose is to back up gene bank collections to secure the foundation of our future food supply. Traveling in polar regions, whether it be the Arctic or the Antarctic, is a unique experience. The scenery is fantastic, the wildlife is everywhere, and the memories are out of this world.